Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone. Okay, so now I will have a small lecture on the concept of social security and on the concept of social security and the international standards and the global scenario and whether, because this session will actually link you up with the uh, social security code. So how the social security code has been made, are we following the international standards or the global pattern or not? So before we start discussion on the social security code tomorrow, we will be starting lectures like on the different aspects of the code tomorrow: the formal sector, the penalty, the informal sector, the implications of the code. But then we would like to link you up that whether the code has been made taking into consideration the international standards and the global scenario. So now, coming to the concept of social security, we all know that social security is basically some kind of protection during contingencies. It is planned to protect the people or the citizens for different contingencies, which could be, starting from birth, maternity benefit, to sickness, unemployment, injury benefit, then for the dependents in the family, the old age people, the children, for invalidity, then old age, and even for death. So for different contingencies that a human being faces during their life cycle, social security is a cushion or a kind of protection. So basically, social security has been planned as per the ILO concept of decent work, which says, ILO has about 189 conventions and recommendations, which tries to create a environment which is conducive for the workers in order to make a decent working condition for the workers. So according to ILO, every worker should work in a condition of freedom, security, dignity, and they should be able to do decent and productive work. So now ILO has made four basic pillars of decent work. That is basically, there should be fundamental rights at work. The worker should be able to have some rights. Then opportunities, equal opportunities or greater opportunities for every worker, whether it is a woman worker or it is a man, for employment and income. Then there should be like all the workers should be able to express their concerns, they should be able to negotiate their rights, and there should be tripartite dialogue, social dialogue. And then and then finally, the all the workers should be covered by some kind of social protection. So the social protection is an important component in the four pillars of social security, or decent work, you can say. So like, many of you would be knowing that Germany was one of the first countries which started social security. That is, during the time of Bismarck, 1883, the insurance model of social security started. That is, the workers were supposed to contribute something, a percentage of their wage that they were taking home, and employers were also supposed to contribute a percentage of the wage that they were giving to the workers. So this started way back in 1883 during the time of Chancellor Bismarck. And that concept of insurance model of social security became, quite well known over the period of time. Many countries started making similar kind of insurance model of social security for their workers. So ILO in 1952 came up with a convention number 102 on the minimum standards of social security. So by minimum standards, what did ILO mean? So ILO basically meant 9 kind of benefits for the workers. So what are the 9 benefits? Like old age benefit, survivors benefit, family benefit, medical care, maternity benefit, unemployment benefit, sickness leave benefit, disability benefit, and employment injuries benefit. But then ILO, because that was the time 1952, so that was the time when the informal sector was not so big as it is today. So ILO probably did not visualize at that time that that having insurance, ILO made this convention in a form of insurance model. So by the Bismarckian model or the insurance model, where the workers had to contribute and the employers had to also contribute. But by doing such a convention, what did ILO do? ILO basically had completely eliminated the informal sector or the unorganized workers, the self-employed workers from the scope of this convention. So now this convention only covered standard employment only. So only the workers and the employers had to contribute, and the workers who had employers or who were working in an organized sector, formal sector, who had employers, they were only covered by this convention. All the workers who are in the informal sector, unorganized sector, who did not have any employer, this could be your, the worker who are working from homes, or the self-employed workers, the workers in small manufacturing units who are working with their family members only without any hired worker, or the auto walas, or your street vendors, all kinds of informal workers. So they were completely out because they did not have an employer, regular long-term employer. So the scope of this convention was very limited. Over the period of time, the social security and protection became a very important issue, and it featured very prominently in the UN 2030 development agenda, the sustainable development goals. So if you see the sustainable development goals, SDG, the 2015 to 2030 agenda, so you will see that there are, out of the 17 targets, there are about 4 which to a great extent, talks directly about protecting workers or giving them social security. And there are also many other targets which talk indirectly, but directly, if you see the SDG target 1.3, it talks about implementing nationally appropriate social protection system for all, and by 2030. Then it also talks about target 3.8, talks about universal health coverage and financial risk protection and quality health care. So then again, target 8.5 talks about full and productive employment and decent work for all. And then target 10.4 talks about adopting policies, especially fiscal, wage, and social protection policies for greater equality. So this, like if you see, social security or social protection of the people, citizens, became a big concern over the period of time. In 1952, when the ILO convention was made, it only talked about the social security of the formal sector, where there is an employer, employee, and insurance model could be applied there. So the worker could also contribute, the employer could contribute, and social security could be given to the workers, regular workers or the permanent workers, the workers in the organized sector. But then by the time we came to 2015, it was thought, or maybe 2012 or 2015, 2012, ILO came up with the social protection floor recommendation. So by which ILO meant that everyone should have, not only the workers in the formal sector, or not only the workers who have regular employer, but everyone, floor level, the basic or minimum social protection for everyone, all the citizens. So ILO came up with the social protection floor recommendation in 2012. So SDG target 1.3 says that we have to abide by that. We have to make a commitment to give social protection to all people by 2030. And we are seeing that over a period of time, the concept of social security, which was earlier focused on only the formal sector, or the standard employment, it shifted to the general citizens, not only the workers in the formal sector, but all workers, universal social security, all workers, irrespective of whether they are in the formal sector or they are in the informal sector. That is the international, guideline now. But if you see the data globally, if you see that is what the international guideline is, our international standards are. But if you see the global data, about 45% of the people only globally have social security. 55%, that means as many as 4 billion people are without any kind of social security. And if you talk about comprehensive social security, that means all the 9 benefits listed out by ILO in Convention 102. So if you talk about comprehensive social security, the size of people who are getting that is much less. It is only 29% globally. So if we see the benefits, pick up the benefits and see them independently. Old age benefit, 52% are getting globally. Medical benefits, 61% are getting. Work injury benefit, 33% are getting. Maternity cash benefit, that is the cash when they cannot, your salary, remuneration of your salary, or, protection of your salary during the period just before and after the delivery. So that is 40%, and unemployment benefit 28%. So if you see globally, this is the 2017-19 data, that if we see, the number of people who are covered by social assistance, we can see, globally it is only 24% people are covered by social assistance, and it is more in Europe and America as compared to the other parts of the world. Asia, it is 16%. You can see the graph here, and Africa, it is 9.5. So if you see the global labor market, I have taken this from the ILO like ILO report 2018. So if you see it, socioeconomic data. So if you see this global labor market data from the ILO report, we are seeing that there are about 3.3 billion people globally who are employed, who are working, active workers. And out of that 3.3 billion workers, if you see the people who are working in the formal sector or organized sector, or who are getting the wage and salaried workers, if you see, they are only about half, 52%. So a big chunk, you can say, are the workers who are not in regular employment, or who are not in regular service, or who are not in the organized sector. So it is only about 45%, 45% of the people are about, are own account workers. That means they are doing their own work. They don't have any employer. And along with them, about 11% are their family members. So about 45, you can say, are totally our workers who are without any employer, and they are doing their own work. Some of them are working again with their family, and some of them are doing their own. So it is a huge number. So what is the problem when the workers are own account workers or self-employed workers? So they do not have anyone to, as per the ILO Convention 102, so they have to, someone, their employer has to contribute for them. But in this case, there is no employer. For example, even in the Indian case, the ESIC Act, the EPF benefit, the ESIC benefit, the maternity benefit or the gratuity benefit, they are completely out of these kinds of benefits. So, like, there's a whole, almost half of the workers are without any kind of social. Now, if they are own workers or they are informal workers, they are completely left out of the benefits, social security benefits. And this is not only India that they are left out of the ESIC or EPF or maternity or gratuity, but it is, or they are not protected by the, for injuries or anything. So it is not only here. So not only in India, but it is for global picture. This is a global picture that I am giving you, that is a huge number of workers are completely they are derived of all kind of benefits, which the workers in the formal sector are getting. So we are seeing that there are many workers globally who are living in extreme poverty, and they are vulnerable workers. They are and there are a lot of workers in the informal sector, and women are more, represented in the informal sector as compared to men. First of all, the labor participation rate of women is lower globally as compared to men. It is about 48% for women and 75% for men. And out of that, if you see, majority of the women are in the informal sector, and many of them are living in poverty, earning about, extreme poverty as per the ILO 2019 report, that they are earning about $1.90 a day. $1.90 means it will be something around 135-40 rupees. So, which is a very, very meager amount. So, if you see the employment trend in India, I am using the periodic labor force data. All of you must be aware that there is a department called the Department of Statistics. They have a national sample survey, which does NSS, which does National Sample Survey Organization, which does which used to do earlier the quinquennial surveys, so the employment unemployment rounds. So now that from 2017 to 18, the quinquennial surveys have the quinquennial surveys were done once in 4-5 years. So, but from 17-18, now employment unemployment survey would be done annually and not once in 4 or 5 years. So it was done in 2017-18, and again it was done in 2018-19. So I am sharing the data from 2018-19. If you see the total workforce in our country, we are seeing that only 22.8% workers are having doing regular job, or they are getting regular salary. A huge chunk of workers, 52%, are self-employed. Okay, and again another 25% are in casual labor. So we are seeing that about 77% of the workers are without any regular employment. So That means what? That when they are not in regular employment, that means they are also not covered by ESIC, EPF, gratuity, maternity, or all these employees compensation and all these social security legislations. So in India, if you see, we are seeing, if you see the data, we are seeing that the organized sector has been increasing. If you see the NSSO data 2004-5, someone can argue, no, but the organized sector is increasing. We have the NSSO evidence. NSSO shows from 2004-5 to 2011-12, we are seeing that the organized sector is increasing. But if you see the data properly, it is basically the growth in the organized sector is from the informal workers who are working in the organized sector. So although there has been an increase from 31.5 million to 68, and we are seeing it increased from 31.5 million to 68.1 million between 2004 and 2011 too. So if you, besides the NSSO data, if you see the economic census also, so economic census, we have the last, I don't have the data for the seventh economic census. So if you see the economic census, the fifth and the sixth one between 2005 and 2013, we are seeing that there has been the enterprises are increasing, establishments are increasing by 28%, but the number of workers in this establishment, they rose by only 19%. So increase in establishment. So that means what? So that means more and more establishments are coming up, but they may be, the number of workers in these establishments are less. That means many of them are without any hired worker, or they are smaller in size. So we can say, over a period of time, evidence is our economic census also, we are that over a period of time, the establishments are getting smaller and smaller. Now, when the establishments are getting smaller and smaller, what will happen? What will happen? Now, all of you understand that when the establishments are getting smaller, if they become less than the threshold of 10 workers, then they will not be getting ESIC benefit, or they will not be getting gratuity benefit, or they will not be covered for employees compensation, or if they are less than 20 workers, they will not be covered by EPF Act. So these are some of the problems. Now, over a period of time, establishment, there is evidence from data that establishments are decreasing in size. So they are becoming smaller and smaller. That means what? That the informal sector is increasing. And even in the formal sector, the number of workers, you are seeing the growth of the informal workers in the formal sector have also been increasing simultaneously. So we are seeing that it increased from 31.5 million in 2004-5 to 68.1 million in 11-12. So on the one hand, in the formal sector or in the organized sector, the number of informal workers are increasing, and moreover, the establishments are getting smaller, and more informal sector establishments are coming up. So we saw that, from the fifth and a comparison of the fifth and the sixth economic census, we saw that of the total, between the fifth and the sixth economic census, there was 5 million increase of workers, and out of that, 3 million increase was in establishment without hired workers. That means these are all self-employed units or home-based units. So in 2017 and 18, we are also seeing that leaving the informal sector, in the formal sector, 71% of the regular wage salary workers did not have job contract or written job contract. 49.6% were not eligible for social security benefits, and 54.2 were not entitled for paid leave. So that is what, so in the formal sector, there are a lot of workers who are working in a informal or casual basis. So we are seeing that, over a period of time, we are seeing that social security has been only confined to the formal sector or the organized sector. But our international standards say, that we should, after the ILO Convention 102, ILO itself realized, and it came up with the recommendation 2012, where it talked about the social protection floor. That means that giving social security, at least the basic or minimum social security for everyone. So therefore, now the challenge is basically to provide or extend social protection to everyone. And top of that, we are having a double challenge of new forms of employment now. We are seeing the gig workers, the platform workers who are not, who are neither employers. For example, the Ola, Uber drivers, they are driving their own car, but are they the owners? Can they take a decision? So, and will Ola consider them as their, or Uber consider them as their workers and give them the protection? Or, you have the different apps, that Zomato, Swiggy, and all these apps, these workers. Now, these workers, are they considered workers under Zomato or Swiggy? So they are not eligible for any kind of protection or benefit by these chains, multinationals, or these, chains. So therefore, the insecurity or the need for taking into account this kind of work has become a double challenge now. So we know in our India, we know that, we have social security, our EPF Act, our ESIC Act, our gratuity, maternity benefit, employees compensation, all these are there, but it is there for the formal sector. So because EPF has a ceiling of 20 workers, ESIC, gratuity, maternity, and employees compensation, they have a ceiling for 10 workers. So therefore, although we know that the number of workers in the informal sector is increasing, or informal establish the benefit of these acts. Moreover, there are also other problems, the like uh, ceiling, all that code, thousand, even so these issues are there. So there is a whole lot of workers who are completely left out. The community code, the same thing. It has a ceiling of 20. If you see chapter 4, ESIC, chapter 5, gratuity, 6, maternity, 7, compensation, you will be able to see that all of them, they have a ceiling of 10 workers. I have sent you the social security code and the rules, so that all of you can see the code before the lectures start. So these problems are continuing even in the social security code. It was earlier there, and now also it is continuing in the social security code. So I'm not so we have the building and construction workers act was there. Now it has been absorbed in the code. It has been subsumed in the code as Chapter 8. So, and even we had the Unorganized Sector Social Security Act 2008 that has again been subsumed in the code. But we all know that the building and construction workers, the Act 1996, that also has a lot of problems. Many of you were discussing those problems also in the first session. Many people have not been, many construction workers have not been registered under that act, and and we all know that the amount that is collected or the cess that is collected, that is also not used adequately, that is lying with all the boards, and they are not used adequately for the social security benefits of the construction workers. Similarly, for the unorganized workers, we know that even after 12 years of the enactment of the Unorganized Sector Social Security Act 2008, nothing much has been happening, for the social security of the workers in the unorganized sector. So, Unorganized Sector Social Security Act 2008, it is just an enabling act. It does not have any power, to actually have implement some social security program. So in Schedule 1 of the Unorganized Sector Social Security Act, 10 benefits are listed. But then the Act does not say how these benefits will be implemented, where the funds would be coming, which government department will implement it in the state. So there are lots of problems. We will be discussing it in our subsequently, we will be discussing it. So we know there are a lot of welfare programs and schemes for the social security of workers in the informal sector. Like there are many schemes such as the Pension Yojana, Ayushman Bharat, etc., which are there. But then Manrega, or earlier it was RSBY was there. Now Ayushman Bharat is there. So there are many schemes for the welfare of the workers in the unorganized sector. But then these are not long term schemes, or they may not be covering taxpayers funded schemes, but they may not be covering the entire unorganized sector workers, or they may not be running in the long term and fulfilling the social security needs of the workers in the unorganized sector. For example, RSBY, all of you know that it was doing, it provides health insurance to the BPL families who are not having health insurance, formal health insurance, who are not working in the organized sector. It is health insurance for them. But then after 2014, it stopped. It stopped for about 6 years, and around 2020, it came as Ayushman Bharat. It was revamped. So, there is no certainty in terms of guaranteeing the social security programs. So, therefore, it is in this regard that the ILO talks about the social protection floor, because we know that, the schemes are scattered. So, the formal sector, on the one hand, we have the formal sector here in most countries, not only India, in most countries. On the one hand, we have the formal sector where all the benefits are there. They are getting the ESIC, they are getting the EPF, they are getting the maternity, they are getting the gratuity, they are getting the employees compensation. And on the other hand, there are huge workers who are completely, without any protection, and they are, for them, social security is scattered. Sometimes they are getting some Ayushman Bharat, or sometime RSBY, sometime Manrega. So it is all scattered program. So it is for this reason that the ILO talks about the social protection floor. I hope all of you can see this. So that means covering everyone, all the poor people or all the people without social insurance. By social protection has four parameters, that is income security, health security, security for children, and security for old age people. So therefore the ILO 2012 recommendation number 202, it talks about social protection for all. So if you see that if all the people are provided, I think there's some disturbance. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes.
madam.
Okay. So there is some problem, we are having two classes simultaneously because of some problem. So you might be hearing some disturbance. You can see the PPT. Can you see the PPT? Can you see the PPT? Can you see the PPT?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if you see that that this, so ILO talks about giving social transfer, or protecting everyone, all the citizens, whether they are working as self-employed worker, informal worker, whether they are home-based worker, or whether they are just running a rickshaw, thela wala, who's selling some fruits and vegetables outside. For everyone, there is one group of people who are in regular employment, who are in standard employment. For them, social security will be there through the insurance model. But then all other people who are not having regular job, permanent job, who are not covered by insurance, for them, through social transfers, giving a universal protection. So comprehensive social protection. So ILO says floor level protection. Floor level protection means minimum protection. And by minimum protection, ILO means income protection, health protection, old age protection, and protection for children. So that is giving them through social transfers. That is the tax money. Social transfers means the money generated from the tax. So it has been seen that such kind of exercise, wherever it has been done, it has given very good result. For example, if you see this slide, I am showing you the poverty level, whether how, whether has the risk of poverty rates before the social transfer and after the social transfer. So the blue dot are before the EU countries 2014. So the blue dots are the before transfer, and I don't know whether you can see the light blue dot or not. The light blue dot is The light blue dot is here, just below. Just below this line, there is a light blue dot. So if you see that before social transfer and after social transfer, so if you see in most countries, Netherlands, Denmark, Finland, France, Austria, many countries, Hungary, Belgium, and so many, Italy, and many other countries, Romania, Spain, Greece, Estonia. So EU countries have been taken. So if you see before the social transfer and significantly after the social transfer, the poverty rate has decreased. From here you can see it is 26, something like 26. It has decreased to about 16. So for all countries it is there. So there are lessons from the global, other countries. We can learn from other countries. So it has been seen that innovative policies should be done for protecting the people. For example, non-discrimination and equal treatment, adopting insurance schemes even for the unorganized workers, then improving the social security for self-employed and informal workers, then compliance, instituting compliance of social contribution, social security contribution for those workers who are not working directly with the employer. They may not be working directly, but nowadays we know that the big companies, they are outsourcing the work. So even the outsourced worker, they should be making, the employers should be making contribution for the outsourced workers. And then finally, the non-contributory social protection should be like for example, some old age pension or child and family benefit, or health program. For example, India is also doing RSBY or Ayushman Bharat, or we have so many programs for children, or health programs, or old age programs, old age pension related programs. So non-contributory social assistance programs should also be encouraged. So I will stop my